We heard a lot about the change at 13 this week, but haven't heard as much about the 7 green. What'd you find there as a player?
Yeah, I think 7 got a little more manageable to putt around that green. It was very extreme before, and it still kept a lot of the same slopes, but I think softened it a little bit. And so I think you'll see balls won't feed back as much to that Sunday hole location on the right. And then also it should be easier to putt from down to the right up to the left. Before, that putt was really tricky because it crested and then went straight downhill. And it still does that, but it just is a little less.
Do you find year to year the changes, be they big or subtle, kind of keep players sharp as you come here and kind of rediscover what the new Augusta will be?
I think we've heard so much about hearing how putts break over the years, you know, and how there was an advantage to guys having seen the same putt year after year. And since I've started playing the tournament, I think they've redone darn near every green on the golf course in the last 10 years. So that is kind of out the window, I mean, with all the greens that they redo. So I think you just have to relearn it and almost try to forget about historical putts on some of the greens. 17 green is wildly different compared to when I first came to the golf course and played it in 2012. So it's hard to see on TV, but you can definitely notice it when you're up there on the green.
Alan?
Patrick, as a member of the Tour's board, you've earned a reputation as driving a pretty hard bargain. How seriously do you take this role in shaping Tour policy?
Yeah, I take that role very seriously. I think it's important for the players to do their best to be informed, and then also to do their best to serve in that capacity if they are going to take on that role. So I take it very seriously, and I'm just getting underway. I've had one board meeting so far, and a couple more this year. So I'm looking forward to getting more into it.
Just a quick follow-up on that. What are your feelings about opposite events? Do you think they dilute the Tour product in any way?
I'm not sure. I do know the Tour has a lot of events, and it seems like there's a tournament almost every week. I'm not sure about opposite events. I don't think I've spent too much time thinking about in the recent months, the changes that you saw maybe a month or two ago.
One.
So following up on what you said of this being a longer week, no? In a way, it looks like the weather is going to be there. It's going to be tough. So everybody talks about patience, but I wonder what that patience means to you, and if you can give me examples of what do you do this week on and off the course to stay patient. No?
Yeah, I think it'll be a long week. Usually when there's weather, the rounds drag on, and it looks like there may be some delays as well. I imagine the golf course will play particularly long this year, and so I don't think that you'll see guys go for as many of the par 5s as you usually see. Like if we play 13 or 15 with any type of rain, I doubt very many guys will go for those greens. And so I think not forcing the issue all week will be really important, and kind of relying on your wedge game on the par 5s and not trying to take on more than you can when the conditions are less than ideal.
Daniel?
Two things, Patrick. There's been 2 references already today about your I don't know about reputation or how the public perceives you. How do you think they should perceive you? What do you think your reputation should be? Work with me a little bit on this.
I'm not sure it's my place to decide what people perceive me as. I try to be as genuinely myself as possible. And, I think those that know me, I keep a pretty tight circle. And in general, the people that are closest to me are the people that I trust, and then I kind of let my guard down. But for most other people, I have a pretty decent guard up. And that's just kind of how I've always been, and I don't worry too much about, how people are perceiving me.
Secondly, it's a bad follow-up, but I wondered if you could kind of elaborate on some of your thoughts on the USGA proposal on the golf ball. What do you anticipate happening by the end of the year, by August, on this modified local rule?
I'm not sure what will happen. There's a decent chunk of time between now and when they're proposing to implement. So I'm not sure, and we haven't had a board meeting since they came out with this proposal. I see a lot more problems with it than I see good that will come out of it. It's a rule that, to me, seems to primarily affect professional golfers, and I don't see any positives for professional golfers if this rule were to be implemented. So I'm not sure how it will turn out, but there's a decent, like I said, amount of time between now and when the proposal would go into effect.
What would be your biggest argument against?
I think I have a few, but I don't see how it's reasonable to have the manufacturers spend tens of millions of dollars on creating a golf ball for people whose livelihood depends on the golf ball being as good as it can be, and then have zero ROI on that golf ball. It just doesn't make any sort of sense to me. And I think that's the worst. I think that's the worst part about it. And not only that, but if you're not going to make it for everybody, so if it would be such a bad idea for the amateur golfer to do it, then it's definitely a bad idea for the pros. It's hard for me to imagine that the people that are thinking about this rule say, golf's in such a good spot right now, we can't touch it for the amateurs, but we're going to do it for the pros. I mean, I think it's a very small amount of golf courses that the pros play and play tournaments on. And then for them to come out and say, you know, the game's under threat because guys are hitting it too far, I think that's, you know, searching for a problem more than identifying a big problem for the game of golf. And bifurcation, I don't think, is good for anybody that plays the game.
Why do you think they did it then?
I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't heard the USGA in person tell me different reasons. It seems to me that they have an obsession with par, and it seems like they'll do anything to get a golf tournament back to par. And we've seen that through setups that have been messed up, to be honest. And it seems like now they're trying to maybe go at it from a different angle and just have the guys hit it shorter.
And you're number 4 in the world, but the guys ahead of you, there's been some talk of like a big 3, or, you know, those guys are really playing at a high level. Does that motivate you at all?
I don't think much about it, but definitely when I see other people win golf tournaments, it, you know, makes me hungrier to go out and win golf tournaments. And those 3 have played exceptionally well the last couple of years, and they've won a lot of big tournaments. So I think it's rightfully so and understandable that people refer to them that way.
Last question, Juan.
On a different matter, we asked you before about your relationship with Sander. And I mean, I wonder, beyond the wine and all these things, being able to share time and travel with a fellow competitor, I mean, what are the advantages, and is there any disadvantages?
I don't think there's many disadvantages. We played a couple tournaments last year on Sunday where we were both in contention, and he got me once and I got him once. You know, I think there's a lot of advantages. I think playing together as much as we do is good because he's one of the best players in the world, and the more you can expose yourself to players that are playing really good golf, I think it normalizes it for you. And so not only that, but, you know, having a friend out here, we're out 20, 22, 23 weeks out of the year away from home. And so having someone to go out to dinner with and play practice rounds with has been really great for me.
Thank you for your time, Patrick. We wish you the very best this week.
All right, thanks, George.